Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to a brand new mod Spotlight. A mod that is new to Minecraft 1.8.9. This is Intangible. Intangible is a very cool mod. It's different from most other mods that I've played with before. The core concept of Intangible is researching the things that seem intangible, aka souls. This is all about manipulating and using souls of creatures to your own advantage. It's a very cool looking mod. There's a lot of neat stuff to take a look at, and there's a ton of content in this mod. I mean, huge amounts of stuff. So we need to get started because, like, literally, I have a lot to talk about. So we're going to start right now talking about all the stuff in Intangible, and then you guys will hopefully get a good idea of what this mod's all about. It's available publicly, so you can go get it right now. I'll make sure the link is in the description of this video. Let's get started seeing how we can do stuff with Intangible. First things first, we need a bone. All right, guys, to get started with Intangible, first thing you need is just a regular old bone. Cool. Now, bones are going to be used to create an item called a soul bone. And the way this works is anytime an animal dies at the hand of a bone, it's going to absorb that animal's soul and turn that bone into a soul bone. Seems pretty easy. So you can just hit the animal endlessly with the bone, or you can get them down to half a heart. Just make sure that the last hit you do is with the bone, and you discover soul bone. Dun 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 dun! And the first time you do the discovery, you're going to get that big old loud thing, but not every time, so don't worry. So you just made your first discovery and your first steps into the Intangible mod. Now, the second thing you're probably going to want to do is go ahead and drop the soul bone and some lapis into some water. And you'll see here that some bubbles are forming in the water. That's going to indicate that these two objects are reacting with each other. This is going to create the second item that you're going to want to do in Intangible, which is blue crystal. Blue crystal is going to be used for a lot of crafting mechanics, as is soul bone, so get used to this. It's something you're going to do semi-frequently, okay? While that's happening, let's craft another item or two from the Intangible mod. So something we're probably going to want to make is the circuit stamper, which is pretty easy. It's just a piston, iron casing, and some redstone. The iron casing is just some iron. So rather than going ahead and crafting that, I'm going to go ahead and just NEI it into my inventory with JEI, and then place the circuit stamper in the world. The circuit stamper is really pretty easy to use. All you need to do is place a recipe in there. There's 4 slots for the items to go into, and then supply a redstone signal. Quite a few things in this mod require a redstone signal, so I'm going to make sure I have a good number of levers in my inventory. At this point, I think the lapis and the soul bone, oh yeah, look at that, just finished interacting, and we got some blue crystal growth. Nice. So let's go down here and take a look at what's going on. This crystal, not quite yet fully grown. It's going to take a little while for the crystal to kind of grow to the point where it's ready to be harvested. So we're going to want to keep an eye on this. I will come back in a moment once it is fully grown, and then we will see how to use it. All right, guys, we have almost finished growing this thing. I used a little help to speed it up. You'll note that it's done if you right click on it, and it makes a little bit of a ding sound. So far, it looks like it's almost done. There's about 3 little spikes coming out of this thing at the moment, and a 4th one is probably gonna grow here in a minute. Let's get that sigil back. There we go. I think this helps speed it up. There it goes, look, it's growing. Cool. So I think that's done. And we can tell it's done. Nice. Right click and you hear a ding. Then harvest it. Haha! I've discovered crystal. Yay for me. There are other ways to do this, by the way. It should also be noted that one thing I forgot to mention, it's best to plant this on stone rather than dirt. Because the crystal, you can see you can just plant it, and it actually works kind of like crops at this point. So once you get your first one, it's the soul bone plus lapis. But going forward, you can use these crystals like crops, and you should get multiples. Let's see. So at this point, the blue crystal has finished growing. When I harvest it, I just got one that time, but I think you can get more than one. It's kind of like plants, where like you might get more than one, you might just get one. So now that I've got this blue crystal, let's go ahead and craft one of the first and coolest items. We're going to need a couple more soul bones, so let me grab a couple of those, and we're also going to need a piece of redstone. Now, the shape of this recipe is important, so make sure to create this pattern as shown, and from this point, you should be in pretty good shape because you will quickly learn everything you need to know about this mod. Right-click, ta-da! Circuit stamper complete. We've got the knowledge gem. Welcome to your guide to Intangible. Simply right click, ta-da, and an object is placed in the world that you can use as a book. This is pretty neat looking. If you want to close this book, simply right-click on the bottom, and it goes away. And you can right-click with the knowledge gem as many times as you want. Like, it's not a used-up item. It's pretty much your book. And also, when you walk away from it, it'll auto-close. So pretty much while you're standing there, it's open, and you can, I think you can have 2 open at any time, but you can't have a 3rd. See? But then, like I said, as you walk away, they'll close, or you can just click on the bottom to close it. Cool. Interacting with it is just as simple as right-clicking. Item in your hand or not, doesn't matter. You can even, probably don't right-click with the knowledge gem, because I found that sometimes the second one of these opens with that, but, you get the gist, right? So right-click, and you can start reading about stuff. More pages will unlock as you progress through the mod. So as you start doing things in the mod and progressing through it, more pages will open up. So it's kind of like your guide to the mod. Pretty cool, right? You can see souls, one of the more basic concepts that you're going to want to understand. Materials here shows you about soul bone, right? We've already seen how to make that, obviously, but there's other ways to make it going forward. And crystal, see? It seems that lapis and soul bone crystallize when left for a while in water. Pretty cool stuff, right? And then there's the devices section where it talks about the circuit stamper, the thing that we just used to make this little guidebook, the knowledge gem, the thing that we're holding in our hand at the moment, and some other stuff that we're going to need to know about in order to progress in the mod. So let's talk about souls. So the first thing we're going to want to do is start discovering the souls of creatures that exist in our world. And there are 8 different types of souls based on the type of creature that we're detecting. It should be noted that creatures like zombies and skeletons don't actually have a soul because they're undead and they are not alive anymore. But most other creatures do. So animals do, enemies do, etc. And you can read the details in the Detecting Souls page about how to do stuff, or you can watch my video, which I'm going to explain how this all works right now. We need to build a setup to analyze the soul of a creature that we trap and discover information about it. So in order to detect the souls of the creatures that we're going to trap, we first need to get some glassware. And it's indicated here in this little highlighted section called equipment, so we can right-click on that. And you'll notice that there are various utensils formed from molten blue crystal in a blow mold. Combined together will aid in my research of souls. So there's 5 items that we need to get: funnels, decanters, gourds, spirals, and splitters. And we're going to check out all these, and it's actually really easy. So don't be intimidated by, like, there's 5 items we need to do here. It's pretty straightforward. So the first thing we need to do is get a bucket of lava, because we need to make molten blue crystal. And in order to do that is really easy. Bucket of lava, drop blue crystal into it. End of story. And all of a sudden, that blue crystal will melt, fuse with the lava, and you will get molten blue crystal. Neat. Cool. Now we need to get some molds. The first thing we're going to want is the blow mold block. This is what we will be making our molds in. Pretty straightforward, right? The second thing we're going to need is a type of mold, right? So the blow mold is made like so, and the funnel mold is made with sand and stone. The decanter mold is made with more sand and other stone in different patterns. So it's basically sand and stone in different patterns. So all these different molds combined, you'll see there's a bunch of different ones you can get. There's also glass pane mold and glass bottle mold, which makes it a little bit easier to make glass bottles and glass panes. Just kind of a cool thing. So basically, let's get our first type, which is the funnel mold. We're going to place that in there. And then there's one more component that we're going to need in here. Let's take a look. That tells us how to do that. Let's look at the blow mold section here. You'll find that you need some bellows to force air into the blow mold in order for this thing to work out. So definitely recommend you read through some of this stuff because it's going to give you a lot of good details, but I'm going to do my best to kind of explain it for you guys. So bellows goes in here. We're going to attach it to the blow mold, and we simply drop our bucket of lava in. Cool. And then we right click on this guy. Cool. Not too shabby. Like I said, you're probably going to need a few blue crystals for this because you want at least a handful of each of the types of glassware. I think you really will only need one funnel going forward, but that's about it. So let me whack this guy a few more times. Nice. I just got my first mold, the funnel. So simply right-clicking, like I told you there, works pretty well. Let's do one more, the decanter mold. So let's put that on here, and then we're going to want some molten blue crystal. Dump that in there. It might also help to hold right-click. That seems to push the bellows down further, so I think that's actually a better approach. Oh, look at that. First time. Boom. Got it. So that's definitely the better approach. Hold right-click until it goes all the way down, and then it'll quickly form the type of device that you want there. So now that we've seen how to craft these, I'm going to just have about a stack of each in my inventory, right? So there's 4 different types in addition to the funnel. Now, this is almost like a little bit of a mini game here. We need to try and figure out which of these types of devices combined in the right pattern to discover souls. So let's figure out how to do that now. The first thing we're going to want is a bone cage. Bone cages are pretty easy. Soul bone, crafted like so. So let's get one of these. Okay, this gets placed in the world. And you'll notice the cage can be open or closed. This can also use a redstone signal, which is pretty handy, so that creatures can walk in front of it and trigger the redstone signal. Now, the way to use this cage is pretty straightforward. Simply lure a creature into it. So let's use a sheep. Okay, we're going to spawn one in the world. And if I just push that sheep in front of it and get him to stand on that pressure plate, go over here, Mr. Sheep. I can either push him or lure him in with wheat, whatever. Boom, right? When he hits the pressure plate, he's trapped in the cage. Or you could just get him close enough and right-click the cage manually. But trust me, the pressure plate method is the way you want to go. From here, we're going to need to set up that glassware configuration that we saw on the page here. So let's go back to where we were, to detecting souls. And you'll see that there's pretty much behind the cage is where you're going to want to set this up, because you need to apply a redstone signal. And if you build this in front of the cage, when you apply the redstone signal, the cage door will open. Not that I did that by mistake ever. So let's place down, as you can see in the picture here, there are 5 devices laid out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. The first one is always going to be the funnel. This is step 1. You always have a funnel in front here. Now the remaining glassware is going to be placed along the line. Now the trick is you don't know what the pattern of glassware needs to be. It'll always be 4 glassware after the funnel, but you don't know which ones to go in. But don't worry, the mod makes it very easy to figure out. My preferred method of figuring this out is place down 4 of the same kind, right? So I just put down 4 splitters. Now to start the research that you need to do to figure out what kind of soul this thing has, activate it with a redstone signal. You'll see some bubbling. That means that you have the right device here. Like I said, the funnel is always the first. If you get a pink object, it stops the process, and you need to replace that object with something else. So we're going to try the decanter here, okay? So I'm going to turn off and turn back on the experiment. That one's pink too, so decanter is not the one that goes there. We'll try gourd. Turn it off and back on. Gourd was correct. See, we're getting some bubbles, but this is not a splitter. So let's replace that with the decanter, okay? Off and on. No such luck. So let's try gourd again for the third one. So it could be any combination. Okay, 2 gourds. Oh, look. Nice. Discovery, souls. Discovery, benign soul. We discovered the first of 8 types of souls. The good news is that all benign souls going forward, we now know the pattern for. It is funnel, gourd, gourd, splitter, splitter. So going forward, anytime we want to do anything with benign souls, we know the pattern. This pattern is randomized by your world seed. So I'm going to assume that it means that it'll be the same on servers. So like once somebody on your server figures it out, they can tell you. But it's not a hard minigame, right? It took us like 5 seconds to figure it out. Different types of souls will have different patterns. So when we check out soul type number 2, it's going to be different from this pattern. It will definitely be different. But benign souls are always this pattern. Cool? So let's take a look at the book and see if now that I've discovered something about souls, there's more stuff to see. Oh, big surprise, there definitely is. So detecting souls, we already figured out how to detect souls. So now we have 4 other things we can do with souls. Number 1, we can extract them. So we can literally take the soul out of the sheep. Then we can direct it around, we can store it, and we can find out about the different types of souls. So far, we've discovered 1. There are in total 8. So let's kind of like follow along the book, extracting souls. So having found a way to identify a soul, so once we know how a soul works, the next thing to do is actually to take the soul out of its corporeal container. So a soul relay, which is a device we can craft, is going to help us with that. So pretty much it tells us how to do this, but I'm going to show you how to do this. So the first thing we need is a soul relay. We need stone rings, which are crafted pretty easily in a circuit stamper with 4 pieces of stone. Okay, you're also going to need a control circuit, which are some soul bone conduits and a blue gem. Blue gems are made in the gem mold. Okay, soul bones are made with soul bone splinters and redstone. Soul bone splinters are made with soul bone. All this stuff in the circuit stamper, right? So a bunch of circuit stamper recipes here that you're going to want to pay attention to. That's going to give you the soul relay. We are going to, at this point, need a total of 4 of them. So let's get some rather than going through the crafting process. You're probably going to want more soul relays, so I'm actually going to grab about a stack of them, to be honest with you, because I know we're going to need more going forward. Soul relays are going to help us manipulate and affect souls in different ways. We place them in the ground, or on the ground right here like this. And I'm going to turn off this redstone signal. Redstone signals will affect these guys. So what we actually want to have is a redstone signal in front of these to turn them on, and you'll see that it gets them running. Or another neat way to accomplish this that I've been doing in my test world, and I guess if you have a lot of redstone, this is a good way to go about it too, just redstone block under it. So either way will work just fine. Cool. So I've been putting redstone blocks under here, but like I said, it's up to you. So this is all you need to do to extract the soul from a creature. But there's other things that we can do with soul relays as well that we'll be checking out shortly. But to extract benign souls, we use the same pattern that we have here. So we've already discovered how to research benign souls, and we've completed that research. So now we use the same pattern of stuff to extract the soul with the soul relays intact. So simply right click and you'll see bubble, bubble, toil and trouble. Here comes a soul. Hello, sheep soul. So we just extracted the soul out of that sheep. Poor sheep. It's a terrible thing to do. What you'll discover, by the way, is we can go ahead and let that sheep out of his cage, and he doesn't have a soul anymore, so he ain't gonna stick around too long. Uh-oh. Sheep in trouble. Yep, without a soul, they're not gonna last too long. So, we've got a sheep's soul. Neat. There's things we can do with this soul. Let's go find out what. Let's grab our knowledge gem again. Boom. And talk about directing souls. Souls are naturally attracted to soul bone, and a device that magnifies and focuses this effect is probably pretty cool. It's called a soul relay. We already saw them. Pretty much when powered by redstone, they're going to attract a soul from a 16-meter range. And once they've been attracted to one soul relay, there's like a cooldown before they're attracted to it again. So if you set a bunch in a pattern or in a row, they're going to follow it. Let's demonstrate that now by setting some soul relays in a row like this and running some redstone to it. So let's get some redstone dust here. And activate this with a lever. Okay, once these soul relays are active, the sheep will be attracted to it. And once he hits one, he's going to move on to the next. And then he'll move on to the next. And he'll always move to the next closest one. So he'll just kind of follow that path. So using these soul relays, you can set up a path to direct sheep in certain directions. Pretty cool. I thought so. I thought it was really neat, actually. I don't know. One of the things I like best is this little book thing. I just like shooting that into the world and reading it. So cool. So the next thing we're going to want to do once we figured out how to direct souls around the environment is to store them. We need to store them somewhere. So in order to do that, we need to create this nifty device called the Well of Souls. Dun, dun, dun. The Well of Souls is pretty easy to craft, but first we're going to need some benign stone to do the crafting with. This material seems oddly inert. I almost wonder if it differs from normal stone in any way at all. So in order to make this benign material stuff, sentient stone, you'll see the manufacturing process, which you can find here, is simply to place some more of those soul relays in columns, right? And we're going to want them to be activated, right? So let's go ahead and do that. And then a good trick is to have a soul relay. So 2 stacks, like soul relays like this, do not attract souls, but singles do. So these being stacked will not attract them, but having a stone relay under the center will. And basically our goal is to get the animal or the soul into that center block, and it will be absorbed into the stone nearby. And there's different types of sentient stone. Benign stone is the only one we know because it's the only soul we've discovered, but there will be other kinds going forward. So let's set this up, I don't know, like over here-ish, right? So what we can do is have the soul relays. Like I told you, you're going to need a few of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you're going to want to have stone here, 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 and here. That's about right. Underneath this center structure is where you're going to want to have another one of these just individual stone relays, and we're probably going to want to activate that with a redstone signal that we can, as needed, turn on and off. So let's run some redstone over to that guy. I think it'll work through the block here. Let's see if I'm right about that. Cool. Are you spinning? You're spinning. Cool. So that should attract the sheep, right? And watch what happens. The other thing that we probably would want to do is get these guys running. So temporarily, I'm just going to put these here and here. And you'll see the soul is absorbed into the stone. Dun, dun, dun. And benign stone is crafted in its place. So that soul is gone. Goodbye, sheep soul. But we've got benign stone, so that's cool. And then, you know, continuing this process is pretty straightforward. We just repeat it, right? The other optional thing that you can do here is just put redstone blocks in this case, or anything to keep, you know, these guys powered by redstone, basically. But as we progress in the mod, we're going to want to do other things with souls. So having an on-off switch for this guy is probably a good idea. Pretty sure, yeah, those redstones, but you get the gist. Yep, so these redstone blocks not affecting this guy, so we're in pretty good shape there, I think. Right? Good. So whenever we want souls to be attracted over here, it's easy. So we're going to need a total of 12 of these benign stones. So just to demonstrate, I'm going to get another sheep. And you know what? Let's grab some wheat. Just to demonstrate another way. Here, sheepy, sheepy. Come over in this direction. Oh, thank you. Activate this system. And what we should wind up seeing is the soul extracted. We can now let the sheep out of the soul cage, and, you know, his corporeal body will decay a little bit. He'll follow along that little soul-bound path. And obviously, we could have this structure closer to the soul cage if we wanted to, but, you know, no real need. And then he should make his way over here and be in good shape. One more tip, by the way, while I'm showing you stuff with souls. Let's go ahead and activate this. He should be attracted to it, assuming he's still within 16 blocks. Yeah. I think if I throw bones through a soul, it turns them into soul bones. Cool. So keep that in mind. Maybe you want to keep a soul trapped somewhere and have kind of a dropper hopper mechanism to drop soul bones and make them easier. So once you've extracted a soul, making soul bones is much easier. You don't have to go through the process of killing the animals with things. So we've got some soul, benign stone here. Let's get just a couple more. And I believe all I need to do is the following. So the book says to make the Well of Souls, we just need about a dozen benign stone. And all we have to do is place it in the world, and like we'll be in great shape. So let's go place it, I don't know where I want to put this thing. Let's put it like over here. So I'm going to clear this out of here temporarily. I don't think I need him for the moment. And obviously you guys know how the circuit stamper works now, right? That's good enough. And we'll move the bellows too. So let's put the Well of Souls over here. I'm going to dig out just a little bit of space. That should work. And I believe it's a simple matter of doing this. So place your benign souls or benign stone blocks like so. We discovered soul manipulation, and we've got the Well of Souls. Dun 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 dun. That is cool looking. The Well of Souls works very much like soul relays in that it will attract souls. Souls will be attracted to the nearest attractor, either the soul relay or the Well of Souls. So keep that in mind. If you want your souls to kind of follow this path over here and make its way over to this guy to craft for you, keep that in mind, that they're going to go there first, probably because when they appear, they'll be most closely attracted to this guy. So let's try storing a soul. Should be pretty straightforward, right? Let's carry on with sheep. Why not? Cool. Activate the extraction device, and this sheep should be attracted to our Well of Souls. Right? Poof. The sheep is there. And you'll see that we've just trapped 1 out of 1 benign souls are stored in here. Cool. That is neat. And we can continue to attract more as we wish. So, sheep, you're getting lost. Go ahead, buddy. Beat it. There you go. More souls. Now we've got 2 in there. So that's your stole storage mechanic. Cool. Now what can we do with them now that we've trapped them? Oh look, now that we've stored a soul, we've got more options in our souls section. By the way, you'll find that there is more materials and more devices as well as you discover stuff. You'll notice that devices is now a 2-page section, so keep that in mind. Absorbing souls. That sounds cool. Let's absorb souls and use their power to do stuff. You can read through the book here to find out what's up, but pretty much you're going to want an infusion device, and you're going to want it to be relatively close to your well of souls. Infusion device, not terribly hard to make. You're going to need one of those soul relays, a ponderance lattice, and a quantifier, as well as some chiseled quartz block. These 2 devices obviously are crafted in a circuit stamper. Pretty straightforward. It's usually a combination of blue crystal, lapis, redstone, vanilla materials. The only thing we haven't seen yet is the yellow crystal. Yellow crystal is a rare drop from the blue crystals that we grow. So those crystals that we grow, you might have noticed the first one was like purple, but we still got a blue crystal out of it. Rarely, as you're growing those, you will stumble upon getting a yellow crystal instead of a blue one. Hang on to those because they're rare and they're going to be used for certain things like this crafting device that we're about to do now. So let's make the infusion device known as the Soul Infuser. This is going to infuse the souls from your well of souls, where is that? Soul Infuser, there it is, into the player, okay? And it's pretty straightforward to use. The first thing you do on this block is determine what type of soul you want to infuse into your player. Right now, it's set to benign. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right, total of 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then back to benign, right? And I think there's like a direction to this sort of that you can click on, but you get the gist. Cool. And then you specify how many souls you want to infuse into your player. So far, we've only captured 2 benign souls, so let's go ahead and do 1, 2. Easy peasy. You'll notice also that there are 4 sides to this block. So as you want to infuse yourself, you could say, I want 2 benign, I want 2 of another type, I want 3 of another type. There is a limit to how many souls you can have, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in this series. Once we're ready here, I think all we need is a redstone signal applied to the soul infuser, and then we stand on it. Dun 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 dun. Let's go, soul infuser. Here we are. Hello, infusing souls into my player. Cool. I'm liking it already. Nice. There are no longer any souls right in there. You'll notice at the top left of my screen, I have a little UI showing right now. With that letter B has 2 little red dots to it. Guess what that means? I've got 2 souls infused into my character, 0 of the other soul types. So what can I do with souls? Well, let's find out. What's the book have to say? The next chapter is spellcasting. Nice. So the first thing we're going to need is a casting foci, which is the foci device here. You can see the recipe. It's a stamper device recipe. And then there's information on spell types. There are 3 types that I'm going to explain to you guys. But the first thing we're probably going to want is that spell foci. So let's make it. Dun dun dun. Nice. All of a sudden, I'm a magical creature with magical spells and abilities. To check out what you can do, simply hold right-click. Boom. And the crafting, or the spellcasting UI comes up. Now, based on the type of soul that you've infused into yourself, there's a bunch of different options here. Most of them are locked out at the moment because we don't know what we need to know to figure out all this stuff. So we need more knowledge in order to unlock these spells. But a few are available, like push. Shift swing to push away nearby creatures. Then it must be recharged. Cool. Then there's the option to repair. Slowly repairs your armor. And the soul leash, which is pretty neat. So there's a couple cool things that we can do with this spell casting UI. However, I feel like the episode's running a little bit long right now. So what I'm going to do is wrap up the episode here. We're going to come back next time, talk about spells, talk about all the cool stuff you can do, like rearranging this nifty little UI that we've got presented here. And yeah, there's a bunch of neat things we can do with this, right? Oh, and I'm standing on the thing, so I don't want to do that. But yeah, we can cast spells. I'll show you how to cast spells. I'll show you what kinds of different spells there are. And then we're going to look into some other types of souls because we figured out benign, but there's 7 more to do. There's a lot more to cover as well because there's a whole new crafting mechanic. like this might be a 4-part episode spotlight. Let me put it that way. So for now, Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you enjoyed Intangible Part 1. We'll come back next time to see more of this mod. All right, guys, take it easy.